Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. My name is Lisa Holder, Chief Communications and Cultural Affairs Administrator for the City of Sanford. Today on this podcast episode, we're going to be talking about Sanford Speaks. It's an initiative program started by our Race, Equality, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And they're here to talk about, I have two great guests. They're here to talk about what this means and what it's all about. I have Venise White here, committee member. Hi, Venise.
Hello, Lisa. Thanks for having me again.
And Barbara Coleman-Foster, who's the co-chair of the REEI Committee. Welcome, ladies. It's a pleasure to have you here. This is something so important, so special in this day and age and in the world in general. We're going to talk about this event that's coming up and what your committee actually is responsible for, right?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Looking
and
forward to
then
it.
what I wanted to start with is I know that you all have principles for how you treat each other when you start all your meetings, which I think it's really beautiful. And so there's 13 principles developed by the Peace and Justice Institute. And how about we take just one randomly each and talk about and just say it, and then we could start with this episode. What do you think?
That sounds great.
Okay. So I'll go first. I'll just pick one, number 8. And it says this: identify assumptions. Our assumptions are usually invisible to us, yet they undergird our worldview. By identifying our assumptions, we can then set them aside and open our viewpoint to greater possibilities.
Awesome. Thank you. This is Barbara, and I would like to say that I was a little torn between two because I think they're very closely related, and also, especially for our Sanford Speaks events, what we're trying to promote. And that is number 9, speak your truth, and number 12, all voices have value. So I'm only going to read number 12 though. All voices have value. Hold these moments when a person speaks as precious, because these are the moments when a person is willing to stand for something, trust the group, and offer something he or she sees as valuable.
Okay.
Yes, one of my favorites too. When I do these principles, I always turn to my favorite, which is number 10. When things get difficult, turn to wonder. If you find yourself disagreeing with another, becoming judgmental, or shutting down in defense, try turning to wonder. I wonder what brought her to this place. I wonder what my reaction teaches me. I wonder what he's feeling right now. And Lisa, we use these principles as our practice of creating space for respect and community building. And we also will lead out at the Sanford Speaks with these principles.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, this is something else. I mean, I have many more favorites. I just closed my eyes and picked one. But thank you, ladies, for that. And let's get into what we're really talking about here today is, first of all, the Race, Equality, and Inclusion Committee. What is it exactly that these Sanford Speaks are? And we do hope the public to get involved.
Absolutely. So REEI has been in existence for a little more than 3 years. This is the 3rd year that we're hosting our Sanford Speaks events, and each year we have a different focus. The first year was very broad because that was the first series of events that the committee hosted. The second year, last year, we focused on policing and in our community and the relationship between the police and our community, and had a great turnout. We certainly appreciate the City of Sanford Police Department for coming out in full force and supporting that program and having open and honest discussions. And this year, we're focusing on history. The history of Sanford in general, and more specifically, the history of Georgetown and Goldsboro, both of which are historically Black communities within the city of Sanford. And so this year, our focus on history is serving as hopefully a lead-in to what we hope will be one of our major projects for this committee.
Okay, great. Do you want to add to that, Venise?
Yes, and the workshop goals are, and I'll just read them: foster a deeper understanding of how historic harms continue to impact individuals and communities, but not just the harms, but also the progress that we've seen over the years, all of the beautiful things that have come out of the community as well. The workshop goal is to create a safe and inclusive space for open dialogue, which we saw on September 5th. Would you agree, Barbara?
With our first one, yes.
Yes. For open dialogue where community members feel comfortable sharing their stories and experiences. So we did have some that were invited, but then we opened the floor for those who attended to speak from the floor to share some of their rich historic accounts of growing up or living in Sanford. And then lastly, our overall goal is just to strengthen relationships between diverse groups within the community to foster trust and collaboration, which is the purpose of the advisory committee.
Okay, and so did we mention the date? It's September 18th.
Yes.
Okay.
So this Wednesday, September 18th, we have boxed meals for the first 75 or so attendees. We start handing those out at around 5 p.m. And then 6 p.m. our program starts. This Wednesday, the 18th, our program will be held at the Dr. Velma Williams Community Center in Sanford on Persimmon Avenue. 919 Persimmon, I believe, is the address.
Yes.
And, I'm sorry, I have a correction. Our program's starting a little later this time.
Yes, on the 5th we did start earlier, but this week doors are opening at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And then the program will start at 6:30, which will be ending a little later at 9 p.m. for this week.
Okay. And now we do know that you need to pre-register. This is one thing.
It is
right?
preferred.
It's preferred.
It is preferred if you pre-register, and you can find the event easily through the Peace and Justice Institute, which we work very closely with that organization, and their events tab. You can also find it through our City of Sanford website.
Okay.
A link to the Eventbrite registration. Again, registration is preferred but not mandatory. We really would just love for folks to come out and share their experiences and have, as Venise said, open and honest dialogue and learn some great history about the city.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We did have a great attendance last week or a couple of weeks ago, but the point is to offer more than one, because we do want people to. We know people's schedules are busy. We want people to participate, and not only you have a recommendation. You'd like students, high school age students,
Yes.
to participate. We want the voices of our youth, correct?
Absolutely. We would love to have more young people come out and not only hear and learn about some of that history, but also share their vision for what they would like to see in and throughout the city of Sanford.
Okay. And first, I want to take this space to thank both of you, really, that you are volunteering for this. I know both of you are passionate in doing this work, and so thank you again. And so this Sanford Speaks, the results of what's happening, where does that go? Where is that information? How does that get compiled? And what is the bigger picture here?
And I just want to remind you all the theme of this year, and I don't know if you said this earlier, Barbara, is history, healing, hope, and the beloved community. Mm-hmm. So if you want to elaborate on that.
Well, so the idea there is, now I have to go give a little backdrop. I had the pleasure of visiting or going on a civil rights history tour with the Peace and Justice Institute this past summer. And our first stop was the King Center in Atlanta. And there we saw a marker about the beloved community. And that really resounded with me as something that we're trying to accomplish here in the city of Sanford. And I tell people all the time, I love the city of Sanford. I live, work, shop, and play here. And I like to remind people that Sanford is a small town with big city amenities. Mm-hmm. And so, nevertheless, we work to ensure that we have a beloved community where our citizens feel safe, where they can thrive, where all of the elements, the social determinants of health are in good working order. And so when we decided to focus on the history, the idea was to highlight the history of Sanford, particularly history that a lot of folks may not know. And so to reveal or make known that history and also use it as a catalyst to facilitate discussion, whereby we can have discussions about, well, this is what happened, this is where we were however many years ago, here's where we want to go. What do we need to do between now and then to get there? And so we settled on this title, History, Healing, Hope, and the Beloved Community.
And Barbara mentioned the social determinants of health. One of the great things when you talk about communities understanding all of the factors that come into place, it's not just where you live, but as Barbara said, where you work, education system, where you play, the recreation system, the art, the sports, all of that. So last session, as well as this upcoming session, we'll have presentations about the historical accounts of the sports,
Right.
the
Okay.
arts and health, and we had some other.
So we had the history, and then we did it in two parts, right? So we had a presentation, the curator from the Sanford Museum, lovely young lady, Brigitte, and I'm not going to recall her last name at the moment, came out and gave us a historical presentation, two actually. And so she focused on some of the deep history, how Sanford even came to be, and then these particular communities that I mentioned earlier, specifically Georgetown and Goldsboro. And then she came back and gave us just a quick overview, because you can't get it all in one night. You can't, you certainly can't get it all in just a few minutes, about some of the health and wellness, the medical field, the entertainment field, sports. And so your question earlier was, well, what do we do, after we have all of that history and we have all of this discussion, what do we do? So at the end of our program, we ask all of the attendees to complete a survey. And so the survey gathers a little bit of demographic information, but also gets their feedback and their input on the event itself, and what we would like to see. We asked them to envision what they would like to see for the city of Sanford. And so they share all of that through their survey. When the survey results come, we have the 2 dates, the results from the 5th that we already have, and then of course we have the results coming up for the one this Wednesday, the 18th, and the committee will take those results. It will be compiled primarily by PJI, but the committee will go through those and figure out, okay, well, what are the recommendations we want to make to our city commissioners? What do we want them to be on the lookout for, to be aware of, for them to, consider as they do the very tough job that they have of managing the city of Sanford?
Okay, all right. That sounds like a plan. And I know that this is, like you said, we've had these Sanford Speaks prior to this as also, and they have been very successful enough that you decide as a committee to offer them again. Yes. And I would imagine getting the input from the community is really important, especially in a situation like this. And like you said, the history and all of that, and allowing those voices to be heard, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do, Lisa, is we have opportunity for small group discussions during the dialogue. Not everyone wants to stand in front of a group, so we do have groups, and we try to make the groups cohorts diverse. So I always ask, or we try to make sure that you're not sitting with the people who you arrived with.
Yeah.
Maybe share some different stories, because I'm from Washington, D.C., and I've been in the area for 20-something years. So I'm a transplant, and if you get to know people who now currently live in Sanford or surrounding areas or work here, we do have some natives, but we have a increasing residents of people who are not from Sanford, but we're learning the history. We're adopting the community, and they're adopting us back. So
Right.
we do have that opportunity to talk amongst ourselves in a small group, so that people have an opportunity to share personal and make new friends.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what's really great about it.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about that is we try to make sure that each of those small groups has an REEI committee member there to help facilitate the discussion. Again, as Venise mentioned, not everyone wants to speak up or speak out, but we definitely want to encourage, which again goes back to why I use the principle that all voices matter.
Yeah.
It's very important. We want to hear all of the perspectives. And I just want to reiterate that our program is not just for City of Sanford residents. Anyone who visits, who lives here, who owns businesses here, anyone really is welcome to come out and participate in our program.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast episode, because we want people to know, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your neighbors. Just come on out, really, and participate, because your voice is important. It truly is.
And Lisa, we're also learning more about the history of neighboring communities who have a tie to the history of Sanford. We did a tour in Mims to the Moore Museum, and we actually invited the curator from the Moore Museum, Sonia Mallard, to come, and she also gave us a very energetic, very
Lively?
robust,
Red,
lively,
very,
yes,
amazing,
enthusiastic,
Just to sum it
like
up.
all of the great
Wow.
things.
But the history of what happened in Mims and how that tied back to the city of Sanford. And we
Yes.
also, if you know the history of Eatonville, there's
Yes.
some ties to the city of Eatonville, which is right outside of Orlando, and the
Right.
ties to the city of Sanford. So if you're in neighboring communities,
Absolutely.
Come
we
out.
we
We
want to
encourage
hear
you to
their
come. We wanna
story.
hear.
We want to hear those stories that tie
Yes.
back to the city of Sanford as well.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear those as well.
Yeah, and we're so glad that you're doing this work in the city of Sanford, and I mean it's just incredible. And I know the city's committed to ensuring that we're inclusive, accepting of all people, because the strength of our community is our diversity.
Yes.
It truly is.
And so that's one of the many goals of having our Sanford Speaks events, and the one of the objectives of the REEI committee is we want Sanford to continue to be a welcoming and inclusive place for anyone to come and, like I said, visit, shop, play, stay, whatever the case may be. So when we have our Sanford Speaks events, or any event really, even our regular meetings, folks are welcome to come out and visit with us and share with us their experiences. We want to hear what those experiences are like in the city, because again, it's about increasing awareness and exposing people to this information. And so with the history in particular, though, we find that, well, I too am a transplant, been here a little less than Venise, but I'm just amazed at the rich history that this little city has.
Right.
And so and I really believe that it's important to share that. And I know one of the challenges, and again goes back to what you said earlier about getting the young people in, because we talk about the challenge of getting young people interested in the history, but I think if they have an understanding of where we've been and where we come from, maybe that'll help them to develop an appreciation for all that this city has been through,
Yeah.
and the resilience of it,
Right.
and what we can do when we talk about envisioning the Sanford of the future.
Right. And speaking of that, I mean, it's going to be their city. It's generations to come.
Yes.
And so handing something off to a city that's been evolving and having these discussions, which sometimes could be hard. People don't want to necessarily share in a public forum like that, but those small groups that you were telling me about, because I had gone to one, it makes it very more intimate environment and stuff where and so I just, I think it's a wonderful thing. And so, of course, the City of Sanford supports this event, partnering with Peace and Justice Institute. This is a function of our Community Relations and Neighborhood Engagement Department here at the City of Sanford. I know you meet here. You have meetings where, like you said, public can be part of that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I believe the meetings are posted on the City of Sanford's website.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're and if you need more information, you can go to the city website at sanfordfl.gov to learn more about the REEI committee and of course Sanford Speaks. But this will be the last one for a little bit, right? So if you're
Right.
considering
Right.
waiting,
You need to come out Wednesday,
come out in a couple
or
of
else
days.
you'll have to
from
wait until next year.
Right. So just think about it. I mean, if you have nothing to do this Wednesday night, or even if you do, think about like priorities, and if you can rearrange your schedule, come out and participate, because again, it's at the Dr. Velma H. Williams Community Center over in the Goldsboro community. Seating is limited, but we would like for you to try and register if you can.
Yes,
And again, they'll
registration
feed
is
you.
preferred.
They're going to feed you,
Yes.
right?
We'll have a limited number of box
Right.
meals. Yes.
But we want you to, yes, that's why they're kind of asking about the registration. But yes, is there anything else that you want? So this workshop, is there anything else you want to share other than, what you've already said, ladies, which is very, very prominent and important? Anything else other than, is there another way that people can provide their input other than having these official community events?
So
What do you suggest?
We definitely believe in the power of story, and we're partnering with some other local historians to collect those stories. I have friends who have historical accounts, but if we're not documenting to pass those stories on, the stories are going to the grave with the people. So we believe in the power of story. There's a project that they're collaborating with
UCF
Hoppers
Riches
Academy.
and the Georgetown Steering Committee, Hoppers Academy.
Yes.
They're having what's called a history harvest.
Yes.
And this is coming up in the spring. I believe it's February. I'm sorry I don't have the flyer with me today. But if you come to the session on Wednesday, there will be information about it.
Yes.
So there's a
Okay.
history harvest, because one of the things, as we talked about the history, is, as Venise said, curating and cultivating that history. So many generations of Sanfordites are here, and there's so much history that is passed down and within their family as oral history, as part of that tradition that just isn't shared. And so my vision, again, I'm a transplant, so I love hearing about some of these stories. But if we have, say, for example, a particular incident, and we can get 5 or 6 perspectives on that incident, it gives us a more robust and well-rounded vision of what truly transpired, right?
Yeah.
So cultivating that is very important. So UCF Riches has been doing that kind of work for a long time, and they're going to have their history harvest in at Hoppers Academy in the spring. So we certainly encourage people to come out and participate. That's one way. As far as the REEI committee goes, our committee members are always open to receiving information. Our meetings are open to the public, so the public can come out, but we want to hear, good, bad, or otherwise. Again, it's about being aware. Nothing can be done if no one really knows what's going on. And so sharing that information, however you share it, is important.
Do we have public participation at those REEI monthly meetings so people can provide feedback and all of that for you?
We make space on our
Okay.
agenda for that, yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Is there anything else, ladies, you wanted to say about Sanford Speaks and the work that you do in the community? We appreciate your volunteering, and your committee's filled. We got 10, 12 people. It's a large
We have at
committee.
least 12, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And it's a diverse committee. I think the committee is a good
Yeah.
reflection of the diversity we want to promote throughout the city, and we certainly do adhere to those principles.
Yes, and we're very appreciative of the leadership of the City of Sanford
Yes.
for having this standing committee as a demonstration that they are open to hearing the voice and the recommendations from the advisory committee. But we need your voice, Sanford. We need to hear your voice so that we can make those recommendations on your behalf. So hope to see you Wednesday. If not, our doors are open.
At a future meeting, yes.
We have future meetings. We on our agenda, there's always public comment on our agendas.
There you go. Well, thank you, Barbara Coleman-Foster. Thank you, Venise White. You're also community leaders, volunteers here, and we appreciate you very much. And everybody, go sign up, register for Sanford Speaks. Go to our website for it. Find out more information. You won't be disappointed.
Yes,
Thank you, Lisa, for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. This is Sanford Says. Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford. And you can find this podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts on the Sanford website at sanfordfl.gov. Thank you again. Until next time, take care now.